Well, hello there, story listeners, and welcome today to the Story Barn with me, your host, for the next 30 minutes. My name is Buttercup. It is a pleasure to be with you today. If you happen to know a bit of sign language, I can show you how to say Buttercup in sign language. Here we have our hand. We'll put our hands out like this. We have our fingers, which we hold out like this, and we have butter. And we have cup. It's a solid name. You've got your butter. You spread your butter. You've got your cup. Just like that. And I was quite lucky because I was nearly called Margarine. So the buttercup is serving me well. We're going to have a little song today to start us off, I think. So if we can maybe feel a song coming on, I think we might already know this one. It's something to do with Peter Rabbit having something on his nose. But instead of the traditional fly today, we are going to go with a fairy. Okay, we've got a theme. There's a hat, if we can call it a hat. There's some wings flopping around back there. So I think Peter Rabbit today, he's got a fairy on his nose. I think it goes a bit like this. Peter Rabbit had a fairy on his nose. Peter Rabbit had a fairy on his nose. Peter Rabbit had a fairy on his nose. So he flipped it and he flopped it and the fly flew away. Floppy ears and curly whiskers. Floppy ears and curly whiskers. Floppy ears and curly whiskers. So he flipped it and he flopped it and the fairy flew away. Ooh, I'm guessing that was a terrific attempt, if not a beautiful one. So, moving on swiftly today to our story time. Now, we are in the story barn. This is what this is all about. We're going to enter the magical world and the magical realm of your imagination. And to do so, once again, you guessed it, there's another song involved. Listen, I've not got a one-string ukulele for nothing, okay? We're going to have to get a bit groovy, maybe a little country, and we'll see what's going to come out. And the song that introduces us to the beautiful mystical world of the fairies, which is where we will be taken to next, goes a bit like this. Up, up, up in my balloon, up so high I can touch the moon. Far and wide, searching for tall tales. Open the book, let the story set sail. We rocking out? Did we rock it? I think we did. I felt it, for sure. So, next up we have the magical world of Thumbelina. I shall place this down here and I shall pick up a story. Everything's coming out in song. Okay, I think it starts. Is it once upon a slime? No. I forget this every time. I think is it once upon a squeaky door? Squeaky mouse. Once upon a, what is it? Once upon a time. Once upon a time, you're right. Oh my goodness me, you'd think I'd know that by now. I've been here for 75 years. But first, to Thumbelina, we shall go. Once upon a time. There once was a woman who wished very much to have a little child. She went to a fairy and said, I should so very much like to have a little child. Can you tell me where I can find one? Oh, that can be easily managed, said the fairy. Here is a barley corn. Put it into a flower pot and see what will happen. Thank you, said the woman, and she gave the fairy 12 shillings, which is a lot of money, which was the piece and the price of one piece of barley corn. She went home and planted it, and it grew up a large, handsome flower, somewhat like a tulip in appearance, but with its leaves tightly closed as if it was still in bud. It's a beautiful flower, said the woman, and she kissed the red, golden-coloured petals, and as she did so, the flower opened, and she could see that it was a real tulip. But within the flower, upon the green velvet stamens, sat a very delicate, graceful little maiden. She was scarcely half as long as a thumb, and gave her name of Thumbelina, because she was so small. Come on, size of your thumb. Are you kidding me? Teeny tiny she was. A walnut shell, elegantly polished, served as her cradle. Her bed was formed of blue-violet leaves with rose leaf for a counterpane. One night, while she lay in her pretty bed, a large, ugly, wet toad crept through a broken pane of glass in the window and leaped right up onto the table where she was sleeping and under the rose leaf quilt. "What a pretty little wife this would make for my son," said the toad. She took up the walnut shell in which Thumbelina lay asleep and jumped through the window with it into the garden. The tiny creature woke early in the morning and began to cry bitterly when she found where she was, for she could see nothing but water on every side of the large green leaf, and there was no way of reaching land. Meanwhile, the old toad was very busy under the marsh, decking her room with rushes, yellow wild flowers, to make it look so pretty for her new daughter-in-law. Then swam out with her son to the leaf and said, "Here's my son. He'll be your husband, and you'll live happily together in the marsh by the stream." "Croak, croak, croak," was all the son could say for himself. "No, it must never be," said the little fishes, who swam about in the water beneath. So they gathered together in the water round the green stalk which held the leaf on which the little maiden stood, and gnawed away at the root with their teeth. Then the leaf floated down the stream, carrying Thumbelina far away and out to the land. "Croak, croak, croak! Oh no! You poor little creature!" She came at last to a door of a field mouse. "Oh, hello there," said a field mouse, for she was really a good old mouse. "Come into my warm room and dine with me." She was pleased with Thumbelina, so she said, "You're quite welcome to stay with me all the winter if you like, but you must keep me rooms clean and neat. Tell me stories, for I shall winter, and I shall like to hear stories whilst it's cold." And Thumbelina did all that the field mouse asked of her, and found herself very comfortable. "We shall have a visitor soon," said the field mouse one day. "My neighbour pays me a visit once a week. He's better off than I am. He's got large rooms and wears a beautiful black velvet coat. If only you could have him for a husband. You will be well provided for indeed. But he's blind, so you must tell him your prettiest stories." Thumbelina did not feel at all interested about the neighbour, for he was a mole. However, he came and he paid her a visit, dressed in his black velvet coat, and the mole fell in love with her, and because she was so sweet and had such a beautiful voice. "You're going to be married, little one," said the field mouse. "My neighbour has asked me to ask you, and we will now prepare your wedding clothes." Thumbelina had to turn the spindle. The field mouse hired 4 spiders who were there to weave day in and day out. As soon as the summer was over, the wedding should take place. But Thumbelina was not at all pleased, for she did not like the tiresome mole. So the wedding day was fixed, on which the mole would take her away to live with him deep under the earth, and never again would she see the warm sun, because he did not like it. The poor child was very unhappy at the thought of saying farewell to the beautiful sun. And as the field mouse had given her permission for her to stand at the door, she went to look once more. "Farewell, bright sun," she cried, stretching out her arms towards it. Tweet, tweet sounded suddenly overhead. She looked up, and there was a swallow, himself flying close by. She told him how unwilling she was to marry the mole. Well, he said, "I'm going to fly away over the mountains into the warmer countries. Will you go with me? We can fly away over the mountains, where it's always summer and the flowers bloom in a greater beauty. Fly with me now, dear little one." "Yes, I will go with you," said Thumbelina, and she seated herself on the back of the bird, with her feet on its outstretched wings. The swallow flew with Thumbelina in place on her one broad leaf. But now, how surprised she was to see in the middle of the flower a tiny little man, as white and transparent as if he was made of crystal. He had a gold crown upon his head, delicate wings on his shoulders, and he was delighted to see her. He asked her name, and if she was to be his wife and be the queen of all the flowers, which he so hoped she would. So he popped the question. There was so much rejoicing. The little swallow who sat above them in the nest was asked to do a little wedding song, which he did as well as he could. In his heart he felt sad, for he was very fond of Thumbelina and would have liked to never part from her again. "Farewell, farewell," said the swallow with a heavy heart as he left for the warm countries to fly back to Denmark. And there he had a nest over the window of a house which he dwelt in the winter of fairy tales. The swallow sang "Tweet, tweet," and from that song came the whole story. Bloomin' heck. So that was passed on through generations through the crow's song. I wish I could sing that well. I wish I could sing a whole story into a song. That was the tale of Thumbelina. Not even the size of a thumb. Teeny tiny she was. Absolutely beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed that. I say absolutely beautiful because over here, I don't think you're going to believe it, is Thumbelina. She's been sat here the whole time, jabbering in my ear, trying to distract me from the story. But I think it's time we introduce her, shall we? It's our Thumbelina on some little leaves. I don't know if you can see that, if that's going to capture her beauty. But she's just been there the whole time, just waiting to pop up and say hello. So, if we are lucky today, and we happen to be in the vicinity of crafts, maybe, shall we say, a little bit of green paper? All you would need to make a Thumbelina on a little boat is a piece of green card, a pair of handy scissors, a piece or two of glue in a glue stick, and some kind of felt tip pen or pen in general, could be a Bic, and some kind of willingness to give it a go. So shall we try? Shall we try? So first up today, we have got to draw ourselves some leaves. Now, our leaves can look a little something like this if you want to. I mean, it could be far more creative than this because I don't have the dexterity or the skill to make a very nice leaf, but this is my best go. So what we're going to do is get a little felt tip, get our card like this, and draw our leaves. Now, your leaf could be far more exciting than mine. It could be massive, it could be small, it could be orange. So let's have a little go. These are my leaves, and this is how I like to draw them. Draw them out like this. And then if you want to add a little bit of detail, you could perhaps have the veins going up inside it. A little something like that. So if you want to maybe draw 4 or 5 of those on your piece of card, if you can fit them in, they can all be different sizes. Also, please feel free to pause the video at any given point if you need time to collect your craft materials, if perhaps they are not right by your side, which mine of course were, because I was somewhat prepared. Not amazingly prepared, but somewhat prepared. So I've drawn lots of leaves like this. And now I'm going to give them a bit of character. Make them look alive, look sharp. Okay, some leaves. Here we go. Now, if we're at that stage and we feel we're ready to handle the scissors, scissors are here. Beautiful. If we're carrying them across the room, safety first. And we're going to go for it and cut out our leaves. Now, you don't have to be the world's best cutter. I say that to myself to reassure myself, but nobody needs to be the world's best cutter in the room. Just a nice rough leaf will do just fine. Voila. Hopefully the lesson in this craft work is that anybody can be an artist if you've only got the vision. You don't necessarily need the skills to fill it out, you know? There we go. All about having a go. Have a go, Joe, as Joe used to say. As we're cutting this out, it's reminding me of a few leafy tales and the fact that autumn is here. Goodness me. Year is flying by and these beautiful green leaves will now be turning, hopefully, a nice shade of orange, maybe something like this, for the next few weeks, which is something very exciting to look forward to. Hope you agree. Because my favourite thing, realistically, in the whole world, and obviously we all like catching stories and reading stories, but there's nothing that beats putting your wellies on and crunching through some leaves, is there? I feel like that is a lifelong joy that will stay with us forever. I'm hoping so anyway. There you go. I've got plenty of leaves. I hope you've got plenty of leaves coming on here as well. We want her boat to be as sturdy as possible to give her the best possible chance of escaping the crazy mouse. Well, the mouse is quite nice, but constantly trying to get her married. I mean, the frogs, they've got a lot to answer for. Not so nice, the frogs. I'm sure there's plenty of nice frogs in the world, but those ones, menaces. Stay away. So I'm on my final leaf now. Success. A boat, maybe, in the making. Now, once you finish with your scissors, you're going to find yourself some trusty glue. Now, you can arrange your boat in any which way that you think will help Thumbelina survive her perilous journey. We've got probably the big ones at the bottom, and then you can just start to add in various leaves, like so, to create hopefully a successful floating device. I wouldn't try it in water just yet, unless you've got a waterproof paper, but we can definitely play along the imaginary river of life. So that's the way I like to arrange mine. Once you are at that stage, which, let's face it, is pretty impressive if you've made it this far, and if you're still watching and still engaged, because then we have to basically go about the fine tuning task of placing our fairy on board her vessel. I don't know if you can see her there. There's our fairy, and she's very happy right now because she's escaped. She's got a smile on her face. I did not draw this, I must confess. I did cut it out of a book, which is potentially sacrilegious in a place like this. But here we go. And I have popped her on there using a little bit of card at the back to support her because we all need a backrest, and a little bit of sellotape there just to make sure that she's not falling off anytime soon. So if you have the capabilities, and if you do, I'm very impressed, of drawing your own fairy, give it a go. Have a little go, draw a fairy and pop her on. And then if you, like me, perhaps don't have that skill set, then maybe find a little magazine or something like that, or a grown up who has skills like that to maybe draw you a little fairy, pop her on your boat, and then you can have a little sail to freedom with your Thumbelina. Make sure she's not too big though, because remember, she's only the size. My goodness me. Right. Oh, what's that? Sorry. I can hear a noise. What's that? Oh, is that someone trying to communicate? Hello? Oh, hello there. Yes. Yes, there is an object, and yes, I am going to build a story out of nothing because I am a story hunter and a story builder. Yes, absolutely. Oh, you're coming to me from the log factory. Ah, okay, yes, hello. And how is things over at the log factory? Oh, I can just speak to you directly, can I? Because you're a log and you're part of this new story. Okay. So, what are you trying to tell me, log? Am I doing a good job or am I really not as skilled as I thought I was? You think I did okay? Oh, fantastic. And what kind of challenge would you like to set the next story hunter? Oh, right, yeah. So they need to pick their nose, clear it out. Yeah, that sounds a bit disgusting. Yeah. Throw it on the bonfire. Goodness me. Yeah. Set fire to it. Yeah, well, that's a bonfire, I guess. And do some kind of dance. Oh, that sounds quite fantastic. So that's what's going to happen on the next episode. The log fire dance. It is indeed. Oh, yeah. And they need to sing in Turkish. Oh my goodness me, what a challenge you've set. Thank you very much, log. The story log will now disappear, just like that. Wow, I tell you what, the story log's got a lot to answer for this week. So apparently, next week we're going to have a dance around a bonfire with our story hunters singing to you in Turkish. Crazy times. So, I think we're just about reaching the end of our session. Hope you've had a lovely time. But before we go, we will do a little recommends. Yeah, so we've had a story today all about rabbits. Oh no, it wasn't about rabbits. What was it about? It was about flies. No, fairies. I remember. It was about fairies. Okay, if you like fairies and if you like Thumbelina and if you're really proud of your Thumbelina on a little boat, I think you should give it a go and have a read of this book, The Naughtiest Fairy, which, is a pretty cool thing to be. You don't want to be the best fairy. You don't want to be the really goody two shoes fairy. You want to be the naughtiest of fairies. So that would be my recommends. To anybody out there who's looking to flutter by and find themselves somewhere else they can fly off to and read, that would be my recommendation. And I have been Buttercup, and it has been a pleasure. And we shall sign out with a little song that goes a bit like this. The end. Mwah!